Yo, hey guys, GM. What up?
What's up?
Look, so we're laughing because we just got mauled.
Yeah, exactly.
In
Did you see what happened while? Yeah, exactly.
by Carnivore right now?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
hey
think
guys,
somebody ran
GM.
into Canada and we got teleported in there. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So GM guys, and welcome to another AMA with the YGG Community. My name is John Sedano, and tonight we have a very special guest. We have the community lead for Ember Sword. We've got Thor on the other line. How you doing, man?
Hey everybody, it's awesome to be here. I've been looking forward to this a lot, even from back when I first started talking with the YGG community, and it is an honor to be here. And yeah, I think off screen we got killed by Canova, so good start.
Yeah, so this is exactly what we wanted to show you guys tonight. Let me just switch my on my screen here real quick. So that kind of preempted everything because like Thor and I, really plan to, do a full run through, like from the very start, from the time you spawn. And I mean, thankfully you were able to queue in the same game, but
Yeah,
then we got spawned by our teammates who ran into the bosses.
yeah, and exactly. And I want to say this is a feature, but we are right now. That's why I'm not even trying. We are on an unfortunate situation where we don't have gear, and we have lost the opportunity to get our gear because you get that at the elevator. And what happened is not a bug. What happened if somebody from our team ran into Canova, probably thinking that we were with them, and we got teleported in there. But we are only in our undergarments, and we don't have weapons. So what we can do, if we can refresh and try queue together again, if you want to.
All right, let's do that. Let me switch back to my screen here, and then
Yep.
we'll do a refresh.
Yeah,
And then-
let's 3, 2, 1. Let's refresh.
There you go.
And then if we're lucky, we should be in a group together again.
There you go. Here we are. We're back.
Oh, you are in before me. Yeah, I see. Okay. And I actually know one of the people we're playing with, Mr. Steph, is
Nice.
a very active community member in the local community. Yeah, exactly.
So I hope he just doesn't like run off and try to run into the boss again before we get our stuff, right?
Yeah, let's maybe I can. Oh, I think he recognized my username, so maybe he'll wait.
So there you go. I crafted my armor first. I'm
Yep.
sorry, my sword and shield, then my weapon. All right.
And I have crafted. I just played with sensor, so that's what I'm using right now. So I crafted the sensor, but I'm also going heavy armor. Were you also going heavy armor, Sedano?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we're both tanky.
Let's go. But yeah, so while we have our team here getting sorted out, yeah, Thor. So let's talk a bit about the upcoming playtest. So everyone has been super excited, with just trying to get their hands on the game, and we are going to be opening the doors for Ember Sword, in a very few days. And yeah, what does that look like, man, on your end?
I mean, just today, like if it's playtest is always a super exciting moment, right? And I think this is especially an exciting playtest because it's a dungeon, it's PvE, right? And it is the first like real window into how the PvE experience is going to be in Ember Sword, even if it's alpha. It is pretty great. I think we have had so much fun internally when we play this build, and I hope all you guys is going to have fun as well. And today has been incredibly amazing already. I've seen a lot of fun community moments, and this is nothing compared to the weekend, right? So it's going to be insane.
100%. And over at the YGG community, we do also have our MMORPG specific sub guild. So they're called the YGG Guild House, and these guys. So basically, their job is to get into all possible MMORPG Web3 games, and just try to break and reach the limits. So definitely, this weekend is going to be super exciting for our guys over there. So shout out to our guild leader in YGG Guild House, Nomad, with the co-founders Dan Dizon as well. So we'll definitely be seeing you guys in game. But for now, we'll do a quick run through.
And I think we have 3 members geared up, which is pretty good, and then we have a 4th run who is not geared up, but I think we have enough to try and make a run. If you're up for it, I actually think.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so let's try and go for it.
The other guys are busy doing push-ups. So
Yeah, exactly. I think Mr. Steph is joining us. Yeah. Okay, so we have a sword and shield, we have a sensor, we have a staff. That's actually pretty good. And you will be incredibly tanky because you have both the shield and the heavy armor.
Gotcha.
So that is very good. And Mr. Steph is actually a guild leader of one of our 5 biggest guilds in the current community right now, so he's probably also pretty good.
Awesome. And I've got a chance to mess around with the game earlier. Maybe a quick question here is, so would the progress, let's say, of every dungeon run like be saved to the account, or would this be a separate instance every time?
Like, it's a good question. In terms of, are you thinking mostly in terms of like the alpha experience, or are you thinking in terms of like the final release?
Well, just for now, like for over the weekend, right? Like if I do
yeah.
my friends, can I play it again? Like that's the question.
Yeah.
Here.
Yes, you can play this one. You can play as many times as you want. Obviously, when you're done with a dungeon experience, you would have to. I mean, you could keep looking at your record, but you would have to queue again if you want to play the dungeon again from scratch, right? And we will log every playthrough that you finish. We have an amazing infrastructure team, web team, who has made sure that this is all working. So like every playthrough that you finish, we will log your metrics in terms of how good that you did, and you will be able to see that on your website. I have to actually focus here a little bit. Sorry, I pulled some
No worries.
Yeah. I'll actually run back, and then I will take a healing person here. Probably keybind my healing person. You should actually remember to do that. I'm a good example right now of what you should not do. You should remember to keybind your potions. Exactly. But yes, you can play as many times as you will. It will all be logged. And your best run, actually all your runs, if they're good enough, can show up on the leaderboard. But you will also be able to see all your runs in case they are not good enough to be seen on the leaderboard, right? So you can kind of build up and see, okay, I'm halfway through to be shown on the leaderboard, or I gotta make a run that gives 100 points more, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe a follow-up question there would be like, how does a leaderboard really work? Is it per person or per account, or can you also try to battle it out on the leaderboards as a team?
So that's a really good question. I mean, it is bound to you as a specific account, right? So there will be specific account winners, but there are 2 parameters that are very important here. Speed is very important, like how fast you clear the dungeon, and that will be tied to the whole party, right? Because you will obviously be clearing the dungeon as the same. But then the second parameter is either how much damage you've dealt, how much healing you've dealt. So that is how, like, so let's say we did a very fast dungeon run. Let's say we did 8-7 minutes or something like that, which I would say is in the faster end, right? Then one of the 4 of us would still be the best in terms of damage or healing, right? So one of us will come out the better and will be on the leaderboard. But if it's a very good run, probably all 4 will show up on the leaderboard if it's an incredible fast run, right?
Got it.
I hope that makes sense. So it's kind of like a balance between those 2 things, right?
For sure. And yeah, I've already actually seen a lot of our YGG members, like even in the last playtests, who've taken the matters into their own hands in terms of representing their communities and their guilds. Like what I've done, I've put my name, Sedano, and YGG as a tag after. So if you get into those leaderboards and you keep scrolling, you're gonna start to see a lot of Web3 guilds starting to make their claim in Ember Sword. It's pretty exciting stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, I love the progress that you guys have done here. The new monsters, and of course, being able to experience a dungeon for the first time is pretty interesting.
I think it's thank you. I think it's a very good. Oh, I took a lot of Ergodor damage. I think it's a very good point to put your initials from the guild in your username. I actually think that's a very good shout, because we can see what region you're playing from and what weapons you're playing with, etc. But we cannot see what guild you're playing from yet on the leaderboard. So I think that's a very good shout, Sedano, to do that.
Yeah. I'm just out of curiosity, Thor. Maybe a question here from my end, right? Especially that in YGG, we're known as being the guild of guilds. What guild mechanics, clan mechanics, can we be seeing? Let's say, I'm not talking about right now, right? But ideally, when Ember Sword is fully released, how does that look like for guilds and clans?
I'll just step a little back and let you guys deal with these Jovians. Again, as you're saying, right now you are there's not a lot. I mean, there's in the community you can see right now, right, that we do a lot for guilds and we engage with the guilds and we As you can see here, I recognize one of the guild leaders, right? And we have a tight community. We're going to try to replicate that feeling as we grow. So I want to start there just in terms of our philosophy, mentality, right? I've talked plenty of times with YGG already. I love the guilds of guilds, by the way. I love that. But in the future, moving forward, the land plots is a big part, right? Because the land plots, I know even, specific people who bought this land who think of it like guild land, and there are also some guilds who own this land, right? And you can do amazing things with these lands. You can build things depending on your plot type, right? What kind of plot you have. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, there's a lot there to even, we could probably talk about that for 30 minutes. I often talk when I'm in the Copenhagen office with the game director alone about, land, what we can do with land, what the landscape is going to be like. But there's also like stuff like guild wars, right? Guilds fighting each other in game, PvP, but also PvE, trying to be the best guilds on the leaderboard, right? Stuff like maybe internal guilds owning big pieces of nations and fighting together. And I can't say too much because it's the game director's area, but I know that the game director very much agrees that this is stuff that we want to look into. And then obviously also cosmetics, items like that for the guilds. Again, I cannot say specifics, but it's, again, to show the vision and mentality and the philosophy we're kind of going into this with, right?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like for a lot of, upcoming Web3 games, right? Like, I think it's really figuring out, a good balance of, having really good gameplay and also, competitive experience. And for Ember Sword, right? Like there's a lot of nostalgia that MMORPGs are starting to bring back. And I do agree, right, that you really can't take away from the community, them wanting to have some sort of like competitive feature, maybe not only PvP, but as you said, right, what we're doing right now, leaderboards is one of those ways. And I think that's also a really good way to start to be able to bring in or reactivate community members who are interested in Web3 gaming. Because one, like solo playing is as fun as it gets, right? But it's totally a different story when you're in a dungeon, raiding, defeating bosses with your buddies. So something definitely to look forward to here, guys, is we're getting a taste. We're getting a taste of what Ember Sword has to offer. And not to mention, right, like these guys are known for really wanting to build things themselves, like taking matters into their own hands, like with them, like just basically, working on their own engine, like remaking the whole game. And I'm not gonna lie, like the progress here is outstanding. I love the game. I love the graphics, not to mention that it's a browser game. I mean, there are challenges for browser games, but with the direction of, how technology is fastly, just being upgraded day by day with the dawn of, game streaming and all of that. So I think you are in the right direction. And right, for the YGG community, we also have a lot of mobile gamers as well. So, it's a lot easier for us to port over to, not really that heavy requirements of machines to play games like Ember Sword. So a lot of exciting stuff. And YGG, can't wait.
I just love everything I heard there. That was amazing, and like the love is definitely returned. And one of the things you said, like I would like when you're playing this, I often forget it is in browser, and I thoroughly mean that. Like when I'm playing this, I'm like, whoa. So this is awkward. So, and just as I said that, I think we have actually maybe hit one of the bugs that we currently have in alpha. It's actually the first time in like maybe 20 runs that I've hit this bug. So I forgot it was here, but I think we're going to have problems progressing from here. I actually don't know exactly what happened, but I actually think the way of progressing from here would be that Mr. Steph continues and then teleports us to Shark. So I'll just write to him, just continue and enter Shark Arena. Then, sorry, Stan, I'll just write this. Then we will be teleported. Oh, okay. I thought he could blink through. Okay, try to blink through. I'm just trying now some workarounds.
What is?
But other than that, yes, and I think that's actually like someone coming not necessarily from Web3 communities. One thing I've really learned to respect and love in Web3 communities is that it's sometimes, I should be careful what I say here, but even tighter than gaming communities, right? Because there's this different atmosphere when you own things and it's yours and you can build and you can leave legacies on it, and cosmetics can have histories, right, that are bound to it as an entity. And I just really love both the potential in the future, but also what I've seen right now in terms of like the social element of Web3 communities and what is possible, right? And I think we're only touching the surface of what's possible. And you mentioned a lot of those things. And social is very important to us. We actually, and that's why you mentioned so many things that kind of like I love, because you mentioned nostalgia, you mentioned social, and those are some of the things that are very important for us. And we just try to layer new tech on top of this, right?
Yep. For like one thing that like really like brings me back into my MMORPG days back in school, right? Was being excited to get out of class and get back home and to meet my friends or my guildmates in game. And I think MMORPGs have that really, really strong, capacity to build communities in their game because, like, one, compared to, let's say, casual games where, you play it at your own time, MMORPGs kind of require you to, work with your community, be logged in at specific times, achieve quests done together. And I think, yeah, that's what YGG is really, really looking for. And as soon as we're starting to see games like Ember Sword starting to roll out, we've I personally have seen a resurgence of Web3 gamers and also their Web2 friends, bringing them and tagging them along.
Good point. Good point.
Because,
Yeah.
We are the second wave, or we are at the second phase of Web3 games, where we're seeing a lot more progress, a lot more improvements from previous economic systems, and it makes it a lot more exciting with the fact that like Web2 gamers who haven't had the chance to really grasp and understand what Web3 games have to offer, just are in for a treat. Right, because now slowly let's have games that are more seamless with onboarding, offboarding, and on and off ramps, and also maybe wallet features are now a lot more seamless that we really didn't have before. Like we had to rely on YouTube videos, we had to rely on other content creators, and like the job is basically laid out for all these new gamers coming in. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's very true. Oh yeah, just for the 2 years I've been here in the Ember Sword journey, so much has happened in terms of like wallet, onboarding. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's continued to happening. And that is one of the amazing things here is like, we're not just building an MMO, right? It's like so many forefronts, right? I like how you place it with the second wave, like trying to build an MMO, but also like new tech and engine, but also not just in our company, but like the wave of like what is happening generally in the field in terms of the communities. I am often in awe just watching what is happening, but also thinking about the possibilities for the future, right? So yeah, it's very. And I'm sorry to say, like, sadly, we can't progress from here, but we can try again in Relog. But positively, Sedano, I want to say we beat Canova. Like we beat Canova on the first try here. Yeah, exactly.
And we've done it while doing and hosting an AMA. So I think we need to get extra leaderboard points for that one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was like multitasking, very tough multitasking challenge there. I kind of liked it, actually. Focus on battling and answering and talking. But I think a lot of players will falter at Canova at the first attempt. So I'm pretty happy that we beat him.
I mean, we had Mr. Steph, right, who has been carrying us the whole time. And I'm pretty sure that it's not his first time, running into Canova here.
No, I don't think so. He's probably been playing all day, if I'm correct.
Yes, sir. And yeah, while we're hitting the refresh button there, so I have prepared a few questions that the community has, asked me to get a you. And I think one piece that is pretty interesting to look at here is the question of progression with characters, right? So would people or would players be able to mint and resell characters that they build out in the future? Is that a thing that you're looking at? Because it has been a trend for some games that we've been playing in the past, and it might be an interesting some sort of feature that MMORPG games that might be touching on. And will you guys be doing that as well?
I can't say for certain, but I'm kind of thinking about it right now. One thing I can say for certain is we will never do anything that is pay to win, right? So as long as it's something that has that affects the power status quo in game, like in terms of your power, you will never be able to, as far as I understand, in terms of mentality of the game development team, like you will never be able to buy yourself into power or buy yourself into strength.
Yeah.
I also need to refresh. Sorry, by the way. Let me see if I can get in there, or if I'm too slow. But in terms of cosmetics, I think we're pretty open to trading and what you can do in terms of that. But I can't go into I think we're in the same group. I can't go into specifics about this, so I hope I've touched enough upon this.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, so like from our end, rep, as I mentioned, so there are a lot of players in the MMORPG community of YGG, right? Like this is their focus, is to create characters and be able to mint them. So an example of the game that they've been playing in the past, which has a blockchain feature, is Mirror 4. It's a Korean MMORPG game, and it was actually baked in. Like that was part of the whole economic model, where players who don't really have the time to grind it out like other players, is they have the option to purchase characters that are minted on a specific level. Like let's say if you reach level 100, you can mint your character, and then you can have that resold on the marketplace, and it can be played across different servers. So that's one interesting. And then maybe another trend that we've noticed as well is let's say for Web 2 games that are starting to adopt Web 3 technologies, like open marketplaces, or even having their own stable coin for in-app or in-game purchases. So one of these games is like Ragnarok Online Landverse. So I've played Ragnarok Online for the longest time back in the day, and having to hear them, like it's an official server, but now instead of having to depend or actually relying on in-game purchases, they've been able to avoid the whole black market of players dealing like P2P by actually putting up their own Web3 marketplace. So that's also another trend. And for Ember Sword here, like you guys are at the forefront, like even in the first week of Web3 games, like people have, or the community has always looked at you guys for what you guys are going to be putting out next. Let's say maybe a quick question here, Thor, is that just for the stuff that you can share, right? What vision do you guys have for Ember Sword? Like, let's say by next year, what does it look like?
I mean, I think right now in the scope, we are looking for like tentatively within a year to be able to release Solarwood, or at least some version of Solarwood, right? And within that scope, a lot of things falls into that, right? To be prepared to be able to launch Solarwood. Obviously we envision so much more than that. There are more functionalities, there are more polishing to do, there's more nations. In terms of like marketplace, it's not within the scope of me to say what is definitely the future for in terms of marketplace, but I know that in Ember Sword, our vision and our philosophy will always be, as I said, like accessibility, that you can easily jump there. You mentioned it before, seamlessly, like that you can do everything as seamless as possible. So that there's not all these entries, especially once you bring your Web3 friends, as you mentioned in there, right? We need easy onboarding, no entries, and blockchain should be implemented, Web3 elements into the game, almost as invisible as possible. Like it should just be part of the game, right? And it should not be necessarily obvious up front that it is that, right? It should be like, for example, when you start playing the game, you don't necessarily need to have a wallet connected, right? You will just be playing the game. And then at a certain point, maybe something will pop up and say, hey, you have this in a wallet that we've been storing for you. But if you actually want to utilize it and get the utility or start trading it, you need to build your wallet and we'll transfer it over, right? So we're trying to look at what we can, and this was just an example of what we can do to make this seamless, right? And in terms of black market, I know that our founder absolutely hits that. So we are always looking at how can we... it's about security, right? It's both about security. It's also about transparency. It's about how can we make sure this is as secure as possible, but also that the UX is as good as possible. And we absolutely hate, black market trading, and because there are trading systems that are very similar to blockchain, like CS:GO trading, for example, right? But it is such a risky. At least I wouldn't feel comfortable. Like there's so many risky things there that we're trying to avoid with the blockchain, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true. And you mentioned, right, like after Solarwood, what do you guys see happening in terms of gameplay? Like, will that affect the gameplay? Will that affect how the game will be currently played at that time? Like, what does that look like when more nations are available to them?
I mean, that is a lot. I mean, the game director will probably be able to go more into that. But I mean, there are some things like in terms of community. I think what you will see once more nations starts being out there is it will be even crazier in terms of PvP and PvE, right? Because you not only have the guilds, you not only have the different barons and earls and sirs and ladies, but you also have the nations now, and you have the nations fighting each other. And I'm very curious to see, as a community lead, like, will the guilds tie themselves to a specific nation? Will they not tie themselves to a specific nation? Because I can see already now that some guilds are tying them down to Solarwood, to Seren, to Ediso.
Yeah.
So it will just be even crazier, right, in terms of like faction battles as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would there be like any like unique, gameplay features for, let's say, like landowners? That's one, and then also, let's say, these clusters of guilds who are or who have plots of land in like in the same areas.
I'm sure there will be unique game features for those who own land specifically, like that people who doesn't own land can do. And again, it won't be pay to win, right? It won't be, we can run in some dungeon. It won't be something that will make you stronger, but it will definitely be elements that you won't be able to, like, for example, maybe you can start missions, or maybe you can execute a guild war, or maybe you can declare war against someone in another land, right? Which obviously you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't own that land. And I also think there will be difference between what tier of land you own. But in terms of like specifically within the nations and the guilds, I can't necessarily, like, that's not within the current scope, I would say, probably.
Yep, gotcha. And I know, like, it's pretty interesting to see because, right, like, we also have like smaller groups within the sub guilds of YGG who usually get into games as teams. So, like, like you have groups of 4, groups of 5, and maybe a follow-up question here would be, like, are there any, bonuses for, like, party players? Like, let's say, will there be, like, XP drop bonuses or, like, XP bonuses and item drop bonuses if you play as teams? Is that a feature that, it's something on the horizon?
Let me just see here. There will be bonus systems. I'm absolutely sure of that. Like especially towards the community and towards but it's not something I can go more into specifics right now.
Gotcha.
I think the best thing you can do there as a community member or player is, like, stay tuned for updates to the white paper, stay tuned for updates and announcements in terms of, like, again, as you said, like, it's a second wave. There's so much and we are also figuring out a lot of stuff, like building the engine, building the game, building the community, but yes, I'm definitely sure there will be bonus systems.
Interesting. Super cool to see. So,
yeah.
Oh, did I just follow the map? I did.
I think you can 2 players respawn, right? So as long as we're not in the boss fight, I actually think you can respawn immediately.
So would you think that we are going to be able to take down the boss with 3 players?
I think, like, I know of one developer who have taken down the whole dungeon solo.
Wow.
But he's also incredibly skilled, one of the game developers, right? I think we can, especially the first one. I think the second one, genuinely, whether you are 2 people or 4 people or 3 people, you cannot take him down on the first attempt. Like, Shork is very, very tough. And there are many developers who have been killed by Shork, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe the question here is that, like, what are the features, right, of this current release can the players look forward to, like, aside from the stuff that we're seeing right now on screen?
I think there's a lot of different, like, that's also one of the things that I love so much about the Ember Sword community, right? And it must absolutely be true to, like, the guilds of guilds like YGG is you can approach Ember Sword from so many perspectives, right? You already mentioned them, like Web 3, not like Web 2, but also just PvP or PvE. Do you want to do solo? Do you not want to do solo? Because there's definitely also some players who will want to do solo also in an MMO, right? You can definitely see that. And even if the game is not made for that, that is absolutely something you can do. So, like, there will obviously be both focus on the mid-competitive to hardcore competitive side. There will be focus both on PvE and PvP. But I definitely think that Ember Sword is moving in, like, less casual direction and probably more like mid-tier, hardcore tier, if that makes sense, in terms of, like, PvE and PvP. As you can feel here in the dungeon, it's actually, like, pretty difficult to, like, a degree where it's not easy to do, right?
Yep, 100%. And I mean, I might have not noticed it, but as you mentioned, right, like, there are players, there are devs who have tried to run the dungeons by themselves. Like, do you get higher XP, I assume, if you run it by yourself or with a crew? Is there a difference?
in this current build, you actually don't need to be afraid of going in yourself, and at least initially, because the elevator will only hit the ramp once you are at least 2 people. But it is true that people can disconnect or die. Stuff will happen once you go into the ulti, right? Stuff will definitely happen as you descend. So you might end up being alone. Right now, there is no levels, so that isn't different. It's actually just harder. But I will say the one thing is all the potions that are dropped are yours, right? Nobody can take those potions, right? So
Okay.
I guess that's the one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So the items are instanced as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Right now, the potions that you see on the ground are also the potions I'm seeing, and if you take it, I can't take it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like when I'm playing with some of the devs, sometimes we communicate like, do you need a power potion? You can also drop potions to each other, right? You can drop healing potions. I've even been in a fight with Shork where one of the guys running pistols ran out of healing potions, so I dropped healing potions mid-fight against Shork so that he could grab them. Pretty cool.
Nice. I think we're gonna need a bit of that, potion dropping synergy in a few minutes once we get across the first boss here. Like, it's my 3rd time to run the dungeon. I'm gonna be relying a lot on you, Thor, to carry us through this round.
Yeah. I can definitely drop potions. No worry, buddy. I got you. So I think right now, to kind of like TLDR your question, I would say right now it is just more difficult if you're playing less players, right? It is just more bragging rights, more hardcore, and it will probably be hard to get on the leaderboard playing alone. So if you really want to play for the leaderboard, because your time will be slower when you're alone, right? And inevitably, you cannot, like, even the best developer will not be able to speed run the dungeon alone, right? So if you really want to compete for the leaderboard, you actually need each other. But that also kind of full circle brings me back to the social element, right? And we really want to go back to the social element. We think that kind of today, the state of the MMOs, it's often just one click. There's not necessarily a lot of social, right? We want to go back to the old nostalgia ways of like working together, earning together, right?
Yep. Yeah, like really good point there, right? Like a lot of RPG, MMORPG, or even ARPG games that are also like released on mobile. Most of them are like automated, right? Like there's a lot of options here. It's a one click, then you gotta finish the quest and all of that. Then like maybe the battle there becomes like how much money can you spend on loot boxes or like gacha items.
Yeah.
So maybe a question here is, would we be seeing those kinds of novelties in the game, like cosmetic gacha, like maybe even rare item gacha? Is that going to be a thing?
Like, I'm not even sure, and here you can definitely see that I'm coming from the Web 2 community, right? And recently got introduced to the Web 3 community 2-3 years ago, because I don't even know necessarily what gacha means.
So it's those when you open it, like you pay for a fee, or like you get you buy an item with real currency, and then it's a random chance. It's like a mystery box.
Okay, yeah. Well, I can't say for sure, but again, I can say that in Ember Sword, we will never have pay-to-win elements, right? And I'm pretty sure that we won't have something like that, but without being specific. I mean, it's again, even if I can't be specific, I can be specific about our vision and our philosophy, right?
Yeah.
And our vision and our philosophy, which we would never change, is that we would never do pay-to-win. I don't think that we would like something where you don't know what you're gonna get in terms of like to that degree. And yeah, like what I mean with pay to win is that there will it will only be cosmetics, collectibles, mounts, pets, skins, right? Exactly.
Good. Yeah, that's really good. Like maybe because like one thing, right? Like the ethos in itself, as you said, right? Of Ember Sword, like you guys are making a web browser game. Yeah. So the goal really is to have it in the hands of as many people as possible. Yes. And by having a pay to win game at that scale, like just it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Like you want as many people putting as much time and effort into the game, and like best skilled people, best synergized teams and guilds should win.
Exactly.
And it's not supposed to be those who could spend the most. And in terms of cosmetics, like I think it's a novelty that is a choice by the players, which also is really a good thing, because I myself, right, like if I see a really good skin that I don't mind not eating dinner for the next 5 days, but I have
no, I know what you mean. Yes.
right?
Yeah, definitely. I know what you mean, man. Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's also like the best of both worlds, or at least again you talked about this wave too, right? Because we're trying to because ultimately it should just be fun to play, right? Ultimately, and we think for it to be fun to play, we generally don't believe pay to win to be fun. Like generally as a philosophy. So we're not trying to take anything away from being able to buy something, but we just, for example, if you bought an awesome skin and you have a flaming sword, right? That is cool, but it's not necessarily stronger than the other sword, right? What you did buy was an amazing skin to flaunt yourself and flaunt your design, and that is super important. Immersion is super important, and there are multiple things you can do with that. I have a MMA on YouTube with the founders where Joris, the CTO, talked about like how you can break items apart and trade and build other items from that, right? Oh, I almost died there trying to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, a follow-up question really would be about the badges, right? So, in the past, like you guys have released badges for the community, and maybe like something that's interesting to look at here is if you guys will be attaching some sort of like cosmetic feature to badge owners, because like for a lot of MMO or ARPG games, oh no way,
no.
I still have to refine my AMA and playing.
Yeah, and I think the other one was also almost died.
Back to the question is, I mean, is there going to be like any like visual or cosmetic feature for badge holders in the future?
I mean, currently right now, right, with badge holders, obviously you get the Ember tokens, right, and then you have eternal bragging rights, and as you can see today, actually right now, the ones we're playing with probably are either investors who were invited or VIP personnel or like content creators, but there also could be community members who were holding a badge who then got access to this test 2 days before the rest of the community, right? So we will that's an example of like our mentality again. We will always be looking at what can we do to like award these. I often call them community support, early community supporters, right? Like people who supported us, who is on this journey with us, right? And we will always be looking into things like that. And as I said, I do believe there are people on the team looking into bonuses. I don't need to die about Canada right now, but I can't go into specific in terms of like batches because I don't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, I mean, because even person like me, a lot of my friends, right? So they couldn't wait to get their hands on those badges when it was announced, and just them like waiting for like right now for the passes or like for the early access passes.
Yeah.
They were anticipating like maybe like maybe there's some like maybe like a golden emblem on my name or something, or a golden feature, or like a glowing avatar or whatnot. So guys, don't worry. So the Ember Sword team, has its early supporters in mind all the time, right? And like we're still building out the game, and like the goal really here is to get as much feedback from the community, what you like about it, what you guys think can be improved. Like that is the purpose of these early access faces, right? And what is the best way, Thor, like for the community to be able to send feedback, and get those updates to you guys?
Before that, we actually killed Canada. Nice. And before that, I just want to reiterate that it's exactly what you said. Like, obviously, the game comes first, and developing the game comes first, because we believe that is ultimately the ultimate way to repay everyone, right? But I'm in so many meetings, so I just need to mention there's so many calls where we start talking about, but what about the early supporters, right? What can we do for them in this playtest? What can we do for them in this line cell? What can we do? So it's absolutely at the mind of like the core of everybody, and you can hear how important vision and philosophy is to this company, right? So it's often coming up, and we are looking at what can we do. And again, it will never be pay to win, but it could, as you just mentioned, it could absolutely be cosmetical things, right? Again, things that you can flaunt, bragging rights, stuff like that. In terms of feedback right now, and the game director mentioned it in the previous stream, we would love to hear what you like, but we would actually love to hear what you don't like, right? Because we are in the middle of the end of the alpha process. I think I can say as much without getting into trouble, like the relative end of the alpha, right? Whatever that means. And that means that the game director is often talking about how it's super important that we nail down the core gameplay, right? The core loop, the core controls, how we want that to feel. So that is why it is so important that you give your feedback on that you talk about what you didn't like, what you liked about the controls. How you can do that is when you finish your gameplay, there's an option to do a survey, and we would like you to do that survey. I think you can also win some amazing prizes from that, actually, by the way, as a side victory there. We love prizes, right? And second thing, I would see, go to our Discord community. We have a specific curated channel called Ultra Deep Alpha, where you can write box, write feedback. There's also a mega thread on Reddit, on our subreddit, where you can go and leave feedback. And guys, we read through all of this, like almost daily. Like my team go through all of this. We check this, we engage with this. This is where we're here for, and we love to hear your feedback. That is just super important, Sedano, that I get that feel like we love that. That is one of the biggest things of our job, right?
For sure, 100%. And yeah, so guys, you heard it first, right? So starting Friday, make sure to get your hands on the game, and don't forget to take down notes, because Ember Sword is going to be listening, and definitely you will be seeing those updates for the future, alpha tests to come. We are in the second part here of the dungeon. It's the first time I've seen these monsters.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, these are lab guards, and there are two versions of them. There's a melee version and a range version. And this is the puzzle room, and we have to. Can I spoil? I think I can spoil. You have to stand on the platform here.
Okay, gotcha. There you go.
Yeah. I'll tell you what to exactly. And there's an ongoing joke in the company that Canavar is very angry because he cannot get past this puzzle room. That's the ongoing joke. Yeah.
So guys, everyone watching at home, right? So we hope that you get it. You guys are getting as much info as you can, so that when everyone else gets access or gets their hands on the game, we already have some tips and tricks for you guys out there. So don't forget. So everyone watching at home, whether you're from the YGG Twitch, Discord, YouTube, Facebook, make sure to send over your questions. So the community right now is over at the YGG Discord channel. It's discord.gg/YGG. So shout out to our community leaders who are here. Shout out to our YGG managers as well. We have Spracky, who is one of the OGs in YGG and is also an avid MMORPG fan. So he's asking, I think you've touched on this earlier, Thor, in your previous AMA on the Ember Sword channels itself. He's asking, will you guys have a mobile version for this, or maybe an extended question is that will it only be web, or will you have a client in the future as well?
Okay, I think I've asked Joris, the founder and CTO, multiple times, and I don't actually remember right now when I'm sitting if there was a definitive answer about it. But again, I can say that we are focusing on the browser right now. We are focusing on that. So even if there would be an application in the future, that is not what we are focusing on. But I also think, and just something to add here, is a lot of the people that I really deep dive with this. Sorry, I was about to die. A lot of the people that I deep dive into the subject with, is their question is actually not only about application. The question is because we are used to browser games not being good. Right? We want application because we are used to browser games. I'm sorry, that's just the rumor, the stereotype that browser games has. Right? So I think what you have to also know about Ember Sword is that it's not your regular browser game. Right? It will, even if we made it on an application, it would not necessarily run better, because it's going to run the best it can on the browser. That's what we're going to build it for, right? And funnily enough, just as I said that, I disconnected. So that is the best advertisement ever. So I'm disconnected. Sorry, Sedano. I don't know what happened. There could be a lot of things.
No worries. So definitely that's one of the patches that is going to be going up live on Friday for everyone at home. But I think no worries, man. I think we are also almost at the top of the hour here, and we want to.
But I want to add one. I want to add one thing. I know that the team were playing around with some things, and the game was running smoothly on a Stream Deck, and we had not even tried to made it run on a Stream Deck, right? So it's just one example of what we're trying to accomplish with our engine is this kind of thing, that it can be accessed almost on probably worldwide on every device, as long as you have 3D, right? 3D plus.
Yep. Yeah, I was able to catch that part actually, right? Awesome. It being written in C++, if I'm not mistaken, right? Makes
exactly.
It, just very compatible with with future integrations, whether it be as you said, right now it works on Stream Deck, without any updates whatsoever. It works there, and then looking forward to browser games are also leveling up, and I think Ember Sword is at the forefront of that. And you guys are on a mission to be able to as you said, change that stereotype. like that browser games can be fun, or browser games are limiting, or have, are very walled in some sort of way. But yeah, I mean, we're starting to see that, especially also from other YGG partner games who are also browser.
True.
And it's, for me, like, it's quite surprising, like, especially that us, we came from Web 2 games, that we've seen, the transition from, like the very early browser games, or even that Google Chrome game with your dinosaur jumping up and down when you lose internet, right? Yes. So that's a long way. Like, now we have Ember Sword with their latest release that is going to be going live pretty soon for everyone, and also try at home. So Thor, what else can we look out for? Let's say for the leaderboards, right? Are there any prizes for people who are going to be participating?
Oh my. Yes, there are. And first of all, it's nice to not be playing now. I would say this was a unique stress task of like playing and sorry, that was very fun to them. But I would say yes, there are actually the best prizes I've seen in the community so far. I want to touch, like, there are different prizes both for like the top 10 globally on the leaderboard, like, so that's something you should go for, the top 10, and the prices are ramping up, especially between the top 3. But there's also prizes for like the best region, and when I say best region, what we're looking at is like the region with the most unique players. So the one who brings the most players to the community is the region that will win. And within that region, we're going to pick even more winners that win land, so they can go into them and build their legacy on the game, right? Then we are going to find the best winners in each weapon set. To mention how awesome these prizes are, the first leaderboard place on the global leaderboard is going to win a settlement to settle down on as a victor. Yeah, exactly. They are going to get an NPC in-game upon release named after them forever, immortalized. It's clear with the game development team. They're going to get the newest Jork hoodie, obviously just on top of that. They're going to get some unique assets to show on social media that they were the best player. So we're going to send them some assets that they can use on social media, borders, frames. And there's probably even more than that I don't remember right now. There's unique titles that they're going to get on Discord. And again, we're always trying to look at what we can do. So these unique titles that you get on Discord, maybe we can replicate them one day, also in-game. Again, it's not something I can promise, but we as a mentality are always looking at what can we replicate, how far can we take this? Right?
For sure, 100%. Guys, you heard it first from Thor, community lead of Ember Sword himself. So Thor, before we wrap up, do you have any last reminders for the YGG community who's listening right now, or who will be watching the replays across the board on all our socials in the next few days?
I mean, I mostly just want to say thank you. Like, as I said, one of the first I would say big communities that I got introduced to when I joined this job was the YGG, right? And we have grown so much over this journey in the company, and it's really nice to see more and more of YGG as we grow as a company, as we grow as a game and as a community. And I love interacting with this, and it kind of goes in my head now, the guilds of guilds. That I can't leave that behind now. I think that's really, really awesome. So I just want to thank you all for me being here, and thank you for the questions. And let's just keep at it. This is a journey, and we have steps to take, right? We have places to go, and let's do it together. Because to me, that's ultimately what all this is about, right? It's doing it together. Thank you.
100%. Super. Couldn't agree more. Super excited for you guys. It's been a long time coming. Even the YGG community ourselves, right? Like, we've been waiting for all of your updates. So everyone else at home, make sure to, if you guys are going to be playing over the weekend, make sure to send those screenshots, those video clips. Make sure to post your content, tag us, tag Ember Sword, tag Thor, so that we can see it and we can reshare. And of course, for anything else, for anything updates, Thor, let us know on how we can hop on. And we're really, really excited to come on as YGG. And we also are going to be seeing a lot of our other game partners in the upcoming YGG Web3 Game Summit that's happening in November in the Philippines. And yeah, we hope to see you guys there. Thor, Ember Sword, you guys are amazing. And we'll be seeing you in the metaverse. Peace out. Cheers.
Discover the future of gaming this November. Hear from over 90 speakers across the globe. Check out the newest Web3 games. Over 300 esports athletes and meet your future developers. The future of gaming is here. Don't get left behind.